So every year around this time, I see the prediction pieces roll in. The year of insert trend here, or Y will change everything. And every year I find myself wincing a little bit because most of these predictions age about as well as milk left on a radiator. So rather than trying to predict the future, a lesson I learnt after confidently declaring QR codes to be dead in 2019, I want to talk about what I'm seeing amongst UX professionals now and how I think that will affect 2026 for us. Let me start with a bit that nobody wants to hear. UX is on the corporate chopping block again. If you've been in the industry long enough, you'll recognise the pattern. We saw it after the dot-com bust. We saw hints of it during various economic downturns, and we're seeing it now. Some folks think that rebranding us is the answer, but we've tried that before. We went from usability to user experience, and maybe that bought us some time, but slapping a new label on the tin doesn't change what's inside. The interesting thing is that the World Economic Forum still sees UX as a growth area. So what exactly is going on? I think we're seeing a split into two forms of very different types of UX work. There's the shallow template-driven kind, the kind of thing that you learn at a boot camp that AI can increasingly handle. But then there's the messy, human-centered kind that requires judgment, taste, and the ability to navigate complex organizational dynamics. Templates and processes just won't cut it anymore. If your approach to UX is downloading some frameworks and following a checklist without much critical thinking, 2026 is going to feel uncomfortable because AI can do all of that stuff now and it can do it faster. But the UX professionals who thrive are the ones with uniquely human skills. Critical thinking, taste, that subjective, hard to define thing that design school professors try to explain. Or the ability to navigate messy organizational dynamics without making enemies. These soft skills are becoming increasingly valuable, more valuable than knowing your way around Figma. I've watched people who can facilitate a difficult stakeholder workshop bring way more value to a project than someone with impeccable wireframing skills. Because the wireframes don't matter if nobody in the organization trusts them. In more positive news, the fanatic add AI for the sake of AI phase is mercifully winding down. I've lost count of how many product features in the last year felt like someone was desperately searching for a place to stick a chatbot, found nowhere sensible, and so stuck it somewhere anyway. Now we're moving into what I like to think of as the implementation phase, where organizations are finally asking what problem are we actually solving, rather than how can we say that we're using AI. This is genuinely good news for UX people because that question, that focus on real user needs is exactly where we can add value. This is our chance to demonstrate what we bring to the table, not by fighting AI, but by being the people who understand how to apply it thoughtfully. I've been thinking about what separates the UX people who feel energized at the moment from the ones who feel anxious. And a few patterns, I think, have emerged. First of all, we need to get comfortable with the mess. UX has always been about messy things, about complex human interactions. But I think some of us got a little bit too attached to neat processes. Well, in my opinion, context matters more than frameworks. A template is a starting point, not a destination. If you find yourself downloading more frameworks than you do actually talking to real users, it might be time to recalibrate. I've come to think of UX methods as a toolkit rather than a linear process. Instead of pushing every project through the same sequence of steps, you assess what the situation actually needs and reach for the right tool. Sometimes that's a full discovery phase, but sometimes it's just a quick guerrilla test. The skill is knowing what to use and when, not memorizing a fixed sequence. The people who are actually thriving enjoy this messiness. They see ambiguity as interesting rather than threatening. The second area is that we need to start wearing multiple hats because the boundaries between UX and other disciplines is blurring fast. I've been encouraging people to pick up knowledge in adjacent fields, whether that be system thinking, data modeling, business development, or marketing. Not to become an expert in everything because that's impossible, but to speak enough of the language to collaborate effectively. And AI is actually making this more achievable than ever. You don't need to, for example, be an experienced developer to build a quick demo anymore. If you've got a basic understanding of how development works, AI can help you create functional prototypes that would have required developer time before. The same applies to data analysis, content strategy, even basic marketing automation. A little knowledge combined with the right AI tools can go surprisingly far these days. The next thing is to take control of your AI story. And this is something that I wrote about recently on Smashing Magazine, but it bears repeating. There are those out there who are taking control of how AI is shaping their jobs, not waiting for someone else to do it, because they know that if they do let someone else do it, they probably won't like the version that emerges. Challenge the way you approach every task by asking how AI might change it. In particular, be excited about how AI can reshape the way that we conduct and communicate user research. There are fascinating possibilities around things like virtual personas and how we can give users a voice in meetings that they never attend. And the opportunities to rapidly iterate are genuinely exciting. Faster development means more freedom to take creative risks. And I'm actually running a workshop on how AI can influence interface design if you want to dig deeper into the practical applications of all this. One thing that genuinely excites me as well is conversational experiences, which are becoming a legitimate UX specialization. Not chatbots as FAQs, please no more of those, but thoughtful conversational interfaces that genuinely improve how people interact with systems. It's a new field, which means that the rules aren't written yet, and that is either terrifying or thrilling, depending on your disposition. I realise I might have painted a somewhat challenging picture, but I'm genuinely optimistic about 2026. Change has always been where interesting work happens. The UX people who adapt, who stay curious, who focus on outcomes over outputs, are going to have a fascinating and engaging career. The fact that AI is opening up new possibilities for experimentation and iteration make it a genuinely exciting time. We can work collaboratively with AI to evolve design concepts in a way that would have taken weeks or months a few years ago. Is all of this comfortable? Well, not always. But comfortable and interesting rarely overlap.